Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I'm a nerd. And I was forced to go back to the old analog days and press *1 to start the meeting. And I'm beginning to realize just how dependent I am on this computer technology and having it always do the right thing. Let's see if we can click the right button here. There we go. Okay. You are lucky enough to be here on a Monday, the last Monday of the month, should we say, at 1 o'clock. And we all know what that means. It's time for the TABS 3 Virtual User Group meeting. Today, we are talking about flat fees, billing for a flat amount no matter how much time is spent. Mary Jo is going to show you all your different options there. There are a couple of them, and which one you use, of course, depends on how you want to do things. And I am going to talk about trust accounting, specifically how to set up a new trust bank account and how to set up new trust accounts within those bank accounts. And even how to set up a trust account for the same person in each of two bank accounts. It's going to be a plethora of trust account, bank account information. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. This, which you are looking at right now, is our GoToWebinar control panel. Most of you are returning attendees, and so you're familiar with this, but I will explain it for those of you who are not. If you are looking at this, it means that you have not yet clicked this button that looks like an arrow pointing to the right, because if you had clicked this button that looks like an arrow pointing to the right, this would be gone. This button causes this to slide right off the side of your screen, and when you click that, this button then turns into an arrow pointing to the left, which is how you get this back. Now, of course, you'll probably want to get rid of it so that you can see everything that's going on. For most of you, that means that if you're looking at this, it's covering up part of my screen, and of course, we all want to see exactly what I'm doing. But why would you want to bring it back? Well, if you're shy and you have a question, you can type it here. And of course, be sure when you type a question to remember to hit the send button. And when you hit that send button, it will pop up on our humble and new moderator's screen, Patty. Patty is filling in for Leanne today. And Patty will recognize that you have a question. She will interrupt Mary Jo or I at the appropriate and opportune time, and she will ask your question on your behalf. Now, if you have follow-up questions based on the answer you're getting, or if we're just going off on the wrong tangent and we're not answering your question, please keep typing, keep remembering to hit send. Patty will keep interrupting us to keep us on track or to answer the supplemental questions that you get as we are answering your question. If you're not shy, you can always hit this. This is a hand with an arrow pointing upwards in front of it, which of course means raise your hand. Patty will do the same thing. She will recognize that you have a question. She will interrupt us at the opportune time. But instead of reading your question, what she'll do is she'll unmute you, let you ask your question. That line of communication, that channel will remain open until the question is answered. So again, if we're headed down the wrong path, if we're going down the wrong tangent, or if you have supplemental questions, all you got to do is keep talking to us, and we'll keep answering them. So, without further ado, I'm going to press a couple buttons. Mary Jo's giving me the "you haven't given me keyboard and mouse" signal. Let's see, Mary Jo, move that mouse around for me. Let's see if you've got it. Of course not. We're going to take it off of there. We're going to put it here. Okay, Mary Jo, now move that mouse around. There you go.
There, I'm here.
Now, at the same time, before she gets going, I'm going to press that. I'm going to close this. I'm going to not save that. I'm going to take you here. And Mary Jo, tell us about flat fees.
Okay. So one of the biggest things that law firms that I train want to know is how to do flat fees. I am going to show you a couple of different ways here. The first one being the way that TABS is designed to do flat fees. And then I'm going to show you a little workaround, because the way that TABS does flat fees isn't always the way that we want it to look on our bill. So I'm going to show you a couple of tricks there to get it to do what you want. So the first thing that we do with flat fee billing is we set up the client to actually be a flat fee billing client. So in my first example here, I'm going to use Andrew Gilbert here. And on my rates tab, I have a little bill code down here that is a flat fee amount, and I can specify what that flat fee amount is. So if I do the drop down, normally this defaults to timekeeper rate 1, and we know that 1 through 6 corresponds to the rates that are underneath each timekeeper that we set up. And some of you might have even used the hourly rate when it doesn't apply to one of these and put an amount in there. Well, the flat fee amount is a 0, so we just choose that and put in that total that we're going to bill for the flat fee regardless of how much time is going to be spent. Now, most of the time when you see that, you think, okay, this is just going to put a time entry on there that says whatever I do, flat fee is $5,000. But that's not the case in tabs. By just saying that this is $5,000, it doesn't make that entry for us. So the way it's designed, you put it in here at $5,000. You go ahead and you keep track of all your time on the case. So you would enter in all of that time for this particular matter. And you can see I've got all the time entries there for whatever attorney is working on the case. When I get ready to bill, I then would go into my statement preparation and I would adjust those flat fee clients. And I can pick and choose which ones I want to adjust. So in this case, if I'm just doing my Andrew Gilbert bill, I would take my 102 and just say I want to adjust just that bill. I can still cut off my dates for the fees so that I'm adjusting only through maybe June 30th or July 31st or whatever my cutoff date is for my statement. And I can say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just do all of it. What this does is it goes through each one of those time entries and it marks it up or down so that it's going to equal my $5,000 on my bill. So if I look at Andrew's bill now, and I'm just going to go back over to my client manager, and I'm going to just generate a statement. I'm going to do a draft statement for this matter. And if I just click this, it's going to show me a draft. You can see that my fee WIP now is all equaling $5,000, but this is what the bill would look like. It would have every single time entry. Here's my cover statement, but let me go down here. See how I still have every time entry, but it's reduced it down so that it equally, amongst there, it's kind of went through, and at the proportionally, there we go. I can never think of that word today. I'm just at a loss. And it's going to then make that amount be $5,000. Well, if you want all the client, if you want your client to see all that detail of all the time you spent and then that it's going to equal this, obviously my rate and my hours are not going to be proportionate to what that is. It's not going to calculate out that way. So it's a lot of extra stuff that they don't need to see. You want one line item that says flat fee for preparation of whatever, and it equals $5,000. They don't need all this mess. So there's a couple different ways that we can do this. And the best way that Paul and I have worked out today, we've actually kind of tried and did a couple of new things today, that you can still get that time to be allocated properly between timekeepers, but still only get one time entry on your statement. And it'll just say that description that you want. So the first thing that we have to do is we would still enter our time in just like we would for the client. And we can still say that that's a flat fee for a certain amount. So we would still set it on the client that it's flat fee for $5,000 or whatever that amount is. We still enter all of our time in just like we do every day. But here's the key. What we want to do is we want to go to our statement template, go to our statement setup, and we want to go into statement templates and create a new template for our flat fee clients. So we've done that. We've created one that's just called flat, and it can have the same information here that you would on your regular statement. That's fine. But here on the fee format, we're going to just do a summary for the fees. Okay? That is important. We want summary here. We're not going to show any of the detail or anything like that. We just want a summary. No recap. It's all just there. Costs can be the same as you have standard detail, however you have it on your regular statement template. And the layout can also be the same layout that you use on your regular statement template. And if you don't know what that is, you can go in. If you've got your default here for your final statement, you can just pull that up, look at what you have in here, and just replicate that in your flat fee. So you've got the same parameters. The only difference will be we're using a summary format here. So once we do that, and we have that set up, we want to assign that template to this flat fee client. So I'm going to actually use a different one that I've set up here, number 101. This is our test client for John Williams. You'll see that on my rate tab, I've got him set up as a flat fee for $1,000. But I'm going to come over here to my statement options, and I'm going to assign the flat to the final. Now, you don't have to do it for the draft. We did for our test purposes, but this could just be your regular draft template. But then on the final, what they're going to get is going to be that, that flat fee amount that we have. So we've entered all of our time in. We've changed our template. One last thing that we want to do is we want that description only part to show up that says flat fee billing for whatever it is. So we enter one entry in here, and I think I may have already entered it in here. I can't remember if I did one. Nope, I don't think so. So I don't know if we did it on this one, Paul. I think we did it on our other test, but I don't remember. I don't see it in here. But what we're going to do is create one time entry. Doesn't matter which timekeeper we put this on. And we're going to give it a date, and we're going to use a transaction code that is a description-only transaction code. You should have one if you just use the out-of-the-box defaults. There is a description only that comes with the program. If not, you can create one. Just come in and make whatever number is available with a fee code. It's going to be a number 4 fee, which is a description only. And we just want to make sure that we use that for our transaction that we want to be the description only. You'll see that the hours worked and the hours to bill and amount are all grayed out. And then I can just redo my description of my description box to just be flat fee for preparation of deposition, or I don't know what that would be. But that would be your description. I'm going to just save that. And now when I come in to do my bill, again, I'm going to go back to Client Manager. And I'm going to do number 102, or 101. And I have I've got my flat fee adjust. I think we did adjust this already. So we have I would have adjusted my flat fee to equal. Oh, you did do this already. We did. All right. So we already had a description in here. So we would have went in and we would have created this flat fee for preparation of will contest. That would have been my preparation of interrogatories or deposition or whatever it is, will, whatever you're doing for the flat fee. So we have a description only, and then we have our 2 time entries in here for this timekeeper. There's 2 different timekeepers. We've adjusted our flat fee, so we would have done that, and then we'll prepare our bill. So same procedures we did for the first client, but the only difference is we've added that description-only transaction for our fees, and we've changed our template to now use the flat fee template. So now when I generate my statement and I do a preview, we have a bill that just says flat fee for preparation of will contest amendment. Here is our $1,000 charge. No other clutter, no other fee information. It's already been allocated to those working timekeepers, and we have our bill ready. Any questions? I'm sorry I jumped back and forth. I think what I did is we were using our John Williams as our practice client, and I was supposed to do all this on the other client. I think that's what we did it backwards. But you can see the the process there, and that's the easiest way to still get your bill without having to jump through a lot more hoops or change your procedure entirely. Questions? There are no questions, Mary Jo. Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Paul, who's going to talk about trust.
Well, this is an exciting moment for all of us. Welcome, Patty. Leanne certainly is excited. Now she has a fill-in. I'm going to talk about something totally different, non-billing related. I'm going to talk about trust accounting, and this kind of follows the pattern that we've had with Mary Jo last month, talking about how to set up a bank account in your operating account type bank account in both AP and GL, because when you set up a bank account for the standard operating type account, you have to set it up in both places. Now, as we know, in trust accounting, your bank account needs to stay as far away as possible from your books. That's the whole point of having trust accounting. It's totally segregated, totally separate from your regular accounting system. So in trust accounting, which is where I am now, here's the main screen, when you need to add a new bank account, you only have to add it in trust. Now, let's not get confused here, because I'm not talking, at least not right now, about adding a new trust account. I'm talking about adding a new bank account. And that, to a lot of people, is a foreign concept, because for most firms, there's one trust account. Now, we do have some clients with 2 and a couple with 3, and Mary Jo's holding up 8. Or maybe she's just telling me to go faster. Oh, no, okay. She says she's got firms with more than 8 trust accounts, bank accounts, separate bank accounts. So where do we set those up? Well, it's right here, set up and then bank account. Now, in my demo system, we happen to have 3. Now, one is a regular old, trust account. The second is probably also a regular old trust account. And here's an example. I just happen to know that this trust bank account was set up in the sample data for a special particular matter. So a lot of times you'll have clients or even matters that have their own trust bank account for some reason. As I said, most firms just have one trust bank account. But when you have multiples, a lot of times it's for a specific client or for a specific matter. So how do we add a new one? Well, it's very simple. We just hit the new button. Now, before I do that, I'm going to cancel that. And I'm going to pull up one that already exists. I'm just going to pull up the standard and explain that this is simply a description. This is your check number. So it would be when you're setting up a new one, you'd put in the last printed check number that you use so that it'll know what the next one should be. And then you're going to want to put language in that would appear in certain places, like on a bill, in certain places on the bill, so that it matches what the firm has. For instance, this firm wants to call them not trust accounts, but retainer accounts. So for the balance text, it says your retainer balance is, and for the opening and closing, it says your opening retainer balance and your closing retainer balance are. When you got a situation where they have to remit more, you've got as per our agreement, please remit. Now, I show you this because if we go and add a new one, these default to these things. So one of the things you're really going to want to make sure you pay attention to is what to do with the language that's going to appear on the statement. So you're going to probably want to look at the existing trust account or trust bank account and see what is already there and pretty much make it mimic that. The other thing you want to do is you want to tell it what codes to use for payments when a trust check is written or a trust electronic transfer is prepared to the firm. As some of you know, having attended other VUGs, virtual user group meetings, or perhaps our webinar on trust accounting and the integration, the only time, and the absolute first and only time that you want trust accounting to interact with your general ledger system, with your regular bookkeeping system, is when you take money from the trust account to pay yourself. That's the only time that you should ever have that level of integration. So this tells it what code to use, what transaction code. If we go over to the billing system and get out of where Mary Jo was and go into setup for transaction codes, you'll know, or you'll see that 900 is our regular payment code. Now, over in trust accounting, we have the ability to put in expense-only, fee-only, and advance-only payments. 99.9726542% of our clients would not even know what a fee-only or an advance-only or an expense-only payment is. It's actually something that's kind of left over from the olden days when that's how we had to enter payments in tabs if we wanted them to flow through to GL. So you're just going to take your regular payment code, the one that you use all the time to make payments, and make sure that that's entered here so that when a firm check or firm electronic transfer is issued against a trust account, it knows to automatically go over to tabs and create the corresponding payment entry. And then, of course, tabs knows to automatically pass that to GL because now you can show that in your books as income. So that's how you set up a bank account. You give it a number, and you can pretty much just select the next available number. You give it a description. That's just for your internal purposes. You give it the last check number you used. You make sure that your language matches up with the way your other trust language is. And what some firms will say is they'll say your PNC or your key retainer balance, maybe identifying the bank, or your maybe they call one of the bank accounts a retainer type trust account and the other a trust type trust account. So sometimes they'll incorporate language into these phrases to indicate on the bill which trust bank account that's in, and then you set up the payment integration. Now, how do you open up a new trust account? Not a bank account. So how do you open up a new trust account? Not a bank account like we just saw, but a trust account. Now keep in mind, a trust accounting system maintains individual balances for each person within an overall bank account. So if we go into trust accounts, we will see, if we drop down this list, all of our clients. And if we click on all of the clients that have been set up in tabs, I should point out. But if we click on John Williams, we'll notice that he's got a trust account and that his balance is $2,000. But if we go back to this list and click on Andrew Gilbert, we'll notice the new word in blue to the right, and we'll notice that we're dropped right here to pick which bank account his trust account is in. It could be the IOLTA account, could be the medical care account, or the First Bank Interest Banking. I'm just going to leave it in the IOLTA account. And bottom line, he has got a zero balance. Now, what some people do, because I've got mine set not to allow this, and yours should be set not to allow this too, but some systems aren't. Maybe they were set up by somebody other than us, or maybe it's been changed by your administrator. But some systems could be set up to allow you to enter a balance or to even change a balance in here. We recommend that not be the case. But if yours shows the ability to edit this cell, do not put the balance in here. You want to use a transaction to open up your balance. So all trust accounts start with zero. All individual trust accounts start with zero, and then you transfer in whatever amount of money you got from the client, $2,000, $5,000, whatever, by making a transaction. Okay? So don't make the mistake of putting the trust account balance in here if you have that ability. I do not. Instead, you go in and you make a trust transaction. And we're not covering today how to make a trust transaction. We're instead covering how to have the individual trust account set up and how to set up the bank account. Now, Mary Jo, I was also supposed to cover something about an entry that is for somebody that's got two trust accounts, or?
Yes. So back on your first screen here on the Address tab, when you're choosing to open a new trust account for a matter, you can choose right here whether or not you want it to be bank account 1, 2, or 3. So this one has no trust account set up right now. So let's say we wanted to do number 1. We would go ahead and we would save this, and now 102 has a trust account in bank account number 1. Now let's say that this matter comes back and they have money in a second trust account.
For the same matter.
The same matter.
Right.
And this happens quite frequently with different firms depending on the situation. So you would then just hit your tab key, and you'll notice when I come in here to bank account 1, it already knows that I have one for bank account 1, but if you simply just change this, let's say we want it to be bank account 3, and hit my tab key, it then goes to new, and I'm opening a new trust account for the same matter with that new bank account.
Mary Jo knows the tricks that I don't know, and I've never come across this because I don't tend to deal in the accounting realm. I know a lot about it, but I've never seen somebody with two accounts like that, or two trust accounts, two trust bank accounts for the same matter.
Well, here's the situation, Paul, that you could have that. Let's say that you switch banks, and you have some of their trust money still in the old bank account, and you haven't moved everything over yet, and you're still writing checks out of that old account to clear it out, and then you do want to switch their money to the new account that you set up, then you would need to have, they might have a situation where they have both.
But you have to have both accounts set up. You need to take it out of the one, and you need to put it into the new. Interesting.
Correct.
Okay. Great. Well, that covers our adding bank accounts and adding individual trust accounts for this VUG. Leanne, do we have any questions? She doesn't have her mic on. Leanne says we don't have any questions. So we're going to wrap it up there. Now, what do we have as our topics for next month? Well, I'll go look those up because I did not, well, I can't look those up. What are our topics? We don't know? Well, we don't know. You're going to have to go look at the website. So I will show you how to look at the website because that's what I wanted to show you next. We do at attorneycomputersystems.com have all of the VUGs, our TABS 3 virtual user group, our Practice Master virtual user group, our WorldDocs virtual user group. If you click on the TABS 3 virtual user group meeting, yep, we already have August up, sending statements via email and TABS 3 start to finish. So that's what we'll be covering in our TABS virtual user group meeting in August. And our Practice Master virtual user group meeting in August is going to be learning how to change and manage holidays and also learning how to check for conflicts. There's some best practices for doing conflict searches in Practice Master. Now, keep in mind, all of our recorded versions, this is where you come to register by clicking the link and registering, but you can also see all the recorded versions of everything we've done from the time we've been recording them, which for some of these go way back to into the Wayback Machine. Rocky and Bullwinkle are coming back, Mary Jo, so now we can make references to the Wayback Machine again. So we go way, way back with some of these, and you can see them all simply by scrolling down and picking the topic that you want and reviewing the webinar or the virtual user group meeting. We also have these neat coffee pot webinars that we give every month. That's something I do. Mary Jo has her eBytes video series, which are short snippets of very useful information, but really, really compact. Here's how you do this one really cool thing. And we both together have our TV show, the Paul and Mary Jo Show, which is going to be premiering on, what, the FX network next month? No, that's a joke. Don't look for it there, but you can always find it here. So that's it for today. Everybody have a good rest of the day, rest of the month, and we will see you next month. Thanks much. Bye-bye.